Welcome to today's session. Thank you so much for lasting today. My name is Gina O'Brien, and I am based in the Dublin office in LinkedIn. I am a client success consultant in LinkedIn. So what that kind of breaks down to, it's a fancy name. What that really breaks down to is I ensure that our clients are successful with the LinkedIn recruiter tool, and that's kind of my product of speciality at the moment. I also have several years recruitment experience background, so I worked for a global organization working in the office support sector as well. So I'm going to pass over to Richard, who's going to introduce himself, start off with the agenda of today's layout, and going to get the ball rolling with today's session. And I will join you later on for more of an informative session as well.
Thanks, Jean. So, good afternoon, everyone. So my name's Richard Cookson. I'm a client success consultant here at LinkedIn. So my role is I work with a number of our global clients to help them drive adoption of the LinkedIn solution, but ultimately help them get the best out of the LinkedIn solution that they have in place with us, looking forward to what they want to achieve long term with LinkedIn and working with them to align in terms of our goals and our strategy. So prior to LinkedIn, I spent 8 years within the recruitment industry, working on a wide variety of projects within both the private sector and the public sector, but predominantly focused around how we can re-engineer and optimize recruitment processes, and also how we can implement technologies to drive efficiencies, enhance visibility, and improve overall management information. So what I want to do now is just go into the agenda before we kickstart into the session. So first of all, I want to talk about LinkedIn in numbers, so where we are to date from a member growth perspective, and really set the context and the scene behind today's session. So why is it important? Why are we talking about building talent intelligence today for this session? Jean is then going to walk you through some of the ways that you can use and leverage your recruiter license to really build your talent intelligence on LinkedIn, to really understand what your addressable market looks like. What does that member profile look like so that you can search more effectively and more productively, and also enable you to have more informative conversations with your hiring managers and your clients to really set that strategy and what it looks like based on data. I'm then going to take you through how you can leverage some of our in-demand reports that are provided by our insights team, how to access those reports, and also how you can leverage some of the information contained within. And then finally, as we start the process of building those talent pools, I'm going to walk you through some of the talent pipeline features available within your license to enable you to more effectively track and manage these leads throughout the recruitment process. But before we start, can I get a raise of hands for anyone who has seen that film Moneyball with Brad Pitt? Fantastic, so about half of you. So the reason I'm talking about Moneyball, I mean, for those of you that haven't seen it, it's basically about these guys that use information and analyze data in such a way that it enables them to make informed decisions about which players to go after. They use data to identify insights that their competitors and other baseball teams aren't looking at. And they basically go on to assemble a winning team. And there's real synergies. So why am I talking about Moneyball, apart from the fact I really like the film? Well, there's real synergies between Moneyball and how you can use your LinkedIn recruiter license to build your talent intelligence, really understand your addressable market, where to find those candidates, but also use the information to have more informative and productive conversations with your hiring manager to really set that sourcing strategy in terms of what it looks like. And this is a picture of my sort of favourite scene within Moneyball, where Brad Pitt, who's, for those that haven't seen it, he's the general manager, and he's responsible basically for picking the players. Even if the coach doesn't like the players, Brad Pitt is responsible for picking those players. And he's talking to this guy, Jonah. And Jonah's basically just come out of university, fresh grad, and it's his first role. And he's talking to Jonah, and he's recruited Jonah because he is great with data and analytics. So for the context of the day, you can look at Jonah as the recruiter, you can look at Brad Pitt as the hiring manager, and this is a scene where Jonah is basically using data to set the strategy based on his analysis, based on the way he has built talent intelligence on LinkedIn. And in Moneyball, data transforms baseball. And using LinkedIn Recruiter, data can transform talent acquisition. Because on LinkedIn, there's over 313 million members, with 2 new members joining every second and growing fast. There's over 3 million active company pages. There's over 300,000 paid for jobs and over 1 million live jobs, and over 24,000 schools and educational institutions. So some might say, rightfully so, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack sometimes. And I'm sure you often have this conversation with your hiring managers when they're asking you to find this little guy. And you're just saying, look, it's not out there, or they're so hard to find that there's going to be such a long lead time, which is not great from a time to hire perspective. But how are you using your LinkedIn recruiter license to build your talent intelligence so you really understand that addressable market, you really understand where to search for them, which companies they reside in, which groups, which industry and functions, etc. And are you using data to make conversations with your hiring manager more productive? And really setting their expectations in terms of what that lead time looks like based on the requirements or the criteria that they have requested for that particular role. Because what we're starting to see at LinkedIn is a move away from the legacy recruiter, where they have little or no understanding of talent pools, to recruiters that are starting to get a deeper understanding of talent pools. They're really starting to understand what that member profile looks like. We're moving away from searching reactively and constantly repeating the same searches and doing the same thing. A role comes in, you look at the requirements, you enter a Boolean search string, and you select some refinement filters that you think are relevant, that will output the right candidates and the right audiences that you're looking to engage and recruit. To recruiters that now really understand the addressable market, they search once, casting that wider net with their Boolean search string to output all of the candidates that will be relevant for that particular role. And then they understand what the addressable market looks like for every new criteria or requirement that is requested from the hiring manager so that they can really set their expectations. So we're moving away from hunch-defined conversations just based on assumption to more data-defined conversations based on facts that provide real credibility and enable you to confidently present that to your hiring managers and clients and really set the sourcing strategy in terms of what that looks like and what the approach needs to look like. So we're basically moving away from guessing to knowing. And we hear your feedback and we hear your challenges at every level of the organisation. From recruiters saying, look, there's just no one out there with these qualifications. I've run the searches again and again and again. There's just no one out there. I know that they're on LinkedIn. They're on LinkedIn, but I just can't find them. To hiring managers saying, look, these markets are overfished. We need new data. That's the key here. We need new data. We need to know, we need to refine our sourcing strategy. Are we looking in the right locations? Are we looking in the right groups, the right companies, right industries, the right functions? All of this type of thing. LinkedIn is basically a network of data. How are you leveraging your license in order to understand and be able to present this type of information to your hiring manager? And Brendan Brown, our Senior Director of Talent Acquisition, really summed it up for me when he said, the recruiting organisation that figures out how to extract the value from data will define the future of talent acquisition. Because it's more about now what we're doing at the front end to really understand our addressable market, to really understand our sourcing strategy, to enable us to recruit more effectively, more productively, and enable us to work more closely with our hiring managers. And I'm now going to just pass it on to Jean, who's just going to take you through some of the ways that you can start to use your recruiter license to build your talent intelligence, to identify what your addressable market is, what that member profile looks like, and how you can start to set expectations and present that data to your hiring managers and clients.
Thank you. So a nice lead up to what I'm going to talk about today. As Richard said, this is more about getting our hands actually dirty and building that talent pool as well. So So before I jump into my section of the session, I know there was a lot, about 50% of the hand raisers who have seen Moneyball. For those who have seen it, you're about to see a 4-minute clip of Brad Pitt. He's married, we're all screwed. So the people who haven't seen it, this is we looked at the film. Richard and I did some presentation research and we got to watch the film several times, so that was one of the highlights. And we condensed it down to a 4-minute clip which really identifies the power of data and the power of knowledge as well. So sit back, enjoy. We've no popcorn, but I will come back to you after the 4-minute video.
The problem we're trying to solve is that there are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. It's an unfair game. And now we've been gutted, organ donors for the rich, Boston's taking our kidneys, Yankees are taking our heart, and you guys are sitting around talking the same old good body nonsense like we're selling jeans. We're looking for Fabio. We got to think differently.
So using this equation on the upper left right here, I'm projecting that we need to win at least 99 games in order to make it to the postseason. We need to score at least 814 runs in order to win those games and allow no more than 645 runs.
What's this?
This is the code that I've written for our year-to-year projections. This is building in all the intelligence that we have to project players.
Okay.
It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that nobody else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. Age, appearance, personality. Bill James and mathematics cut straight through that. Billy, of the 20,000 notable players for us to consider, I believe that there is a championship team of 25 people that we could afford, because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys.
You could replay these 18 games 100 times over, and nobody wins 18 straight again. I mean, it defies everything we know about baseball.
The most amazing thing you could ever imagine has happened over the last 4 days at the Coliseum.
Tejada up the middle, the Yankees have won 19 in a row.
Victories for the Oakland Athletics on an unbelievable night when they lost an 11-0 lead, and now they win it. The crowd comes back to insane life. How do you explain it? Crazy, just plain crazy.
Cool, so has anyone else got goosebumps? That was kind of freaky. So that shows you the power of data, or the data as we like to say in Ireland. So it shows you how they use the information to their advantage, and they extracted information about players that were not relevant for the other masses, the other companies, that they actually decided were going to be the winning combination for them. And what today we're going to do is show you how to build your talent intelligence and build your talent pool as well. So I'm going to take you only through some of the ways you can use LinkedIn Recruiter to start building your talent pool. Now, bearing in mind, LinkedIn is a vast area of data and knowledge. So again, I'm just showing you a few ways. I would always say jump in and try it out yourself as well. So I want to walk through some session objectives. So I want everyone to walk away with understanding how to analyze and how to identify the talent pool or the total addressable market that's relevant for your industry and what you're recruiting for into at the moment. We also want you to find out and know where and what talents are actually in the market at the moment. So you may get a hiring manager, or you may get somebody from a client ringing you saying, I need 7 Java developers in an hour, and you need to understand and be able to relate to that hiring manager the talent pool analysis that you already know about. It's really changing those conversations that you're having with your hiring managers and changing it from very much a reactive recruiter, a reactive company that we're in, that recruiters get sucked into so easily. I was in there for a while, to having those more proactive, more strategic conversations that other recruitment agencies are genuinely not having at the moment. And I know hiring managers want to find this information out, and we can actually give this information to them very, very easily. So I'm going to walk you through that. I also want to look about where are these people hiding? So where are these talented people hiding? What companies actually have the largest critical mass of these skilled individuals that we're looking for, again, dependent on your industry and what you're looking for. We also want to find out where have companies sourced from in the past. So let's say we're working with a client. Let's see where they've hired from in the past. Are they missing out on opportunities that we can start giving them information on? So again, it's having that and changing that conversation with our hiring managers. And finally, having that all-important conversation with the guys, with our clients, setting those expectations. I used to pick up the phone to a client and say, yeah, I'll have them in an hour, and just pull out my hair. I was thinking, going through my hot list, trying to ring people, but now we can actually set expectations and say, absolutely, this is what the market's like. This is our total addressable market, and have those open and honest conversations with our clients. So again, I'm going to walk you through a few methods of doing this. So I hope to God everyone knows what this is. It's a job requirement. If you don't and you've never seen it, you're in the wrong room. Get out of the job that you're in. So this is a job requirement, and we're going to walk through this. I kind of want to keep a trend going through my area of the session today. So we have a company called Acme, and they're looking for an IT developer. The first thing we do when we get a job description is identify the skills, the expertise that are needed for this role, and that's exactly what we've pinpointed here. Now, every good search on LinkedIn starts with a great Boolean search string. So I'm not going to sit here and say what the refinement filters are and what the Boolean is. You'll kick me off the stage very quickly. So we're going to create a Boolean search string. Now, this will enable us to cast a wider net, as Richard was speaking about earlier on, and really capture the whole audience that's relevant for the role that we're trying to hire, the IT developer role. Now, the Boolean search string is made up of keywords and skills that are needed to complete this job and will interest your client. And these can be found out from the job requirement we get, also the conversations we have with hiring managers. So you'll always have a more in-depth conversation with hiring managers or our point of contact in the client that we're hiring for. And finally, don't forget, you guys are industry experts, so you know the other job titles that are being used in the market, the other skills, the other keywords that we can add into this as well. So add as many as you can to ensure we are casting that wider net and we're not missing out on anybody. And that's exactly what we did. And we came up with a result which was in a global addressable market. And unfortunately for us, it was over 2 million people. So if I was to stand here, I am standing, by the way, to say small I am. If I was to stand here and say 2 million people, that's great, go run with that. That's not a conversation that is going to be tangible or realistic with your hiring manager. Get off the stage, Gene, 2 million is irrelevant to us. So I want to show you that once we do a very basic Boolean search string, LinkedIn start giving us outputs that we can start using. So from the grey box behind me somewhere, you will see a list of top industries that these individuals are coming from. So you can see how already the conversation with our hiring manager is starting to trend in a direction we understand and we want to go in as well. So as I say, 2 million is a bit of an irrelevant number for us. So we can now filter this down. So 2 million, that's great. I don't want to look globally. Our client doesn't want to know globally unless they are a global client. So let's have a look at the UK. We can filter this 2 million down to just people in the UK that are relevant again for this IT developer role that we're looking for. So we used one refinement filter. We just filtered down by UK, and we cut down the 2 million to just over 97,000 members on LinkedIn. So now you can see we're starting to play around with our talent pool and start really understanding the addressable market for our location and our industry as well. Now, some clients may want to go a little bit further. So if we stick on the location topic, and we can say, actually, let's think about the job description we just had a moment ago, and our client is called Acme. And let's say we know where they're located. Let's pinpoint their location and find out companies that are in around their area that have the skilled individuals. And that's exactly what we did in the next slide. So not a lot of information, but if we look on the right-hand side of the slide, again, we're using and starting off with the very same Boolean search string, so haven't changed that. Again, every good search starts with a great Boolean search string. I've entered the location of UK, and I've actually put in a postal code as well. So this is exactly where my client is located. And then I said within 50 miles. So I want to find out companies that are within 50 miles of my client that actually have these relevant skilled professionals. And LinkedIn, again, is starting to give us those outputs without us doing any hard work, started giving us information that we can start having the conversation with hiring managers or with our client. So I have visualized this information. So we just don't want to show you how to do it. We want to show you how to, one idea to present to the client that you're hiring with. Now, I actually just pulled this information from LinkedIn and opened up an Excel spreadsheet and created a bar chart. So very simple, was done within seconds, and it's a great way to visualize the top organizations that those talent are in at the moment that your client are looking for. So some clients might say, I don't want people within my area. I'm working out in the sticks, there's no one beside me. So there's no point in doing the location this narrow down. So we can also have a look at a UK-wide, the same information, the companies based UK-wide that have these individuals working for them at the moment. So again, this is what we did. And again, this is just some methods that we're using. So we used the Boolean search string, the exact same we did at the very beginning of the session. And we actually just expanded the any current company filter. So now we've got a list of 15 to 20 companies that these skilled individuals are in at the moment. So this is where the current talent pool is and our total addressable market in the UK. So let's take it a step further. So we have this is where the talent is, but now we want to find out where our client has hired from in the past. And let's start analysing that data as well. So let's just not run with that, let's go a bit deeper. So what we want to find out is where has Acme hired from in the past? And that's crucial to the information I'm going to tell you in a moment. So this is what we did. Again, exact same Boolean search string, so we don't have to change any of that. The hard work is done with that. And under the current company filter, we want to actually select our client. And that's exactly what we did. We selected Acme as a current company filter. And then we just expanded the past company filter. So everyone who has worked in Acme has also worked in these companies as well. So now in bucket 1, we have the companies that the talent is lying in. In bucket 2, we have where our client is hired from in the past. So let's start analysing that data. Let's find out the information my client is looking for. So the first thing we want to do is talk about data visualization. So how do I portray this to my client and to my hiring manager as well? So this is a list of the top 5 organisations that Acme has hired from in the past. So these are the companies that Acme has previously recruited from. And these are the organisations that actually have our total addressable market. So this is where the talent is. So these are the two informations we pulled very easily and very quickly from LinkedIn. Now the green circles will indicate where Acme has actually hired from. So TMI Consulting, XYZ, and LOL, or LOL, I don't know whichever way you want to prefer to call it. We have Acme has actually recruited from them in the past. So as you can see, they're missing out on 2 great organizations where we know from doing the data information on LinkedIn, the talent is lying. So we can have that strategic, high-level conversation with our client and saying, did you know we have a company called Banco that's located in the UK that have over half the skilled individuals that you're looking for? And then, well, no, I didn't know that. And you just sound really smart. So it's very simple to do, and it's all about analysing that data, really understanding where our talent pool is, and having those conversations with our hiring manager as well. Now, I always want to remind you that we are just skimming the surface on what's available on LinkedIn at the moment. So you have the option to deeper dive and to really extract the information that you are looking for. So another area that we can look at is in the graduation hiring strategies. And that's a conversation I see going on a daily basis from a client to a recruitment agency. And recruiters come up to me and they ring me and say, Jean, I'm trying to have a strategic and open and honest conversation with my client about graduates, but I don't really get it. I don't understand how to find out where they are, where they're coming from. No problem, I'll solve your problem. So what we can look at is we can find out the talent. Again, we're looking for IT developer. Where have they studied in the past, or where are they currently studying if they're doing a part-time course? And then find out where our client has actually recruited from the past as well. So this is going to show you, again, always starting with the Boolean search string, and we're going to just leave any current company, doesn't matter where they are. And we're going to expand the any school filter. So just have the drop-down menu expand, and you're going to get a list of 15 to 20 universities where these skilled individuals have studied. So this is kind of what we did in the company one a moment ago. Now we want to find out where our client Acme and where the talent inside Acme has actually studied from in the past as well. Exactly the same steps, very simple to do. So again, we're creating a Boolean search string. We are, instead of having the open current company filter, we're actually selecting our client, and we're expanding the any school filter. So now we have a list of the schools that are relevant for the total addressable market and the schools that have been relevant for our client. Now, what I would suggest to do, which we haven't actually done here, is again analyse that two information. So where is our client missing that gap? Where is that intellectual gap that we can start filling and having those conversations with as well? And when it comes to graduation and university skills, it's always great to find out this information for your client, but it's also useful for us as staffing agencies, us as consultants, to know this information. So your client will say, well, why aren't I out in front of these schools? This is where you know the talent is. This is where they're coming from. Why can't we get in front of them a lot earlier? And do the exact same thing yourself. Why aren't you going up and your company representing your staffing agency inside these schools, doing graduate fairs, getting in front of them, and start becoming thought leaders, and not just a recruiter that they're going to get a call from on graduation date? And that's what the different strategies that we have as well. So not only using this information from a client's point of view, but how can you actually leverage and take advantage of this information for your own benefit as well? Again, this is how I would visualize it for all our hiring managers. So again, simple bar chart in Excel, understanding the top universities that the talent is either in or that we've hired from in the past as well. Now we can narrow it down further. I know in universities in Dublin, we have hundreds of different fields of study, hundreds of different schools, hundreds of different degrees as well. So trying to market yourself to a whole university is just probably a little bit unmanageable. You'd have to get the whole staff here to do it. So we can actually tailor it down by degree level as well. So where are these individuals studying, and precisely what are they actually studying as well? So let's start getting in front of these classes. Let's start branding ourselves. Let your client understand where he should be branding themselves to become an employer of choice and not just another brand name that needs to have an IT developer fill their role. And groups, this is a very interesting one. So I would have a lot of conversations with my customers on a daily basis, and they're saying, what else can I do? Am I fully utilizing LinkedIn? And I always say, are you members of groups? Are you actually engaging with those groups? Like, I don't think so. I'm saying you're missing out. You genuinely are missing out if we're not engaging in the groups on LinkedIn. Again, from a client point of view, but from a recruitment consultant and a staffing agency point of view as well. So having this information for your client is absolutely vital. This is where the IT developers hang out. This is where they socialize. It's where they get information for their industry. It's where they share jokes. It's where they just hang out on a general basis. We need to know this information. Your client needs to know this information as well. And we can find this information to ensure our level of conversation that we're having with our hiring manager is having a step above the competition and above the rest. And I promise you, these conversations are not actually happening at the moment. So when it comes to groups, tell your client which ones are the most popular. Tell them to get their consultants, start sharing information. Again, start branding themselves as an employer of choice instead of just another agency that needs an IT developer. And again, as a company, as a staffing agency, why aren't you in the groups? Start getting involved in conversations. Once you're happy with the language that the groups are using, start driving conversations yourself. Start discussions and start becoming that industry leader and not just a recruiter who rings up and says, hey, are you free? Do you want to have a job? Or sending that email saying, let me know if you're interested in this job, you'd be great. That's not what the passive audience are looking for. They're looking for information and they're looking for knowledge. And again, this talent pool of individuals, this is where they hang out, and this is where everyone in the room should be, and it's where our clients should be as well. So I want to show you a few more ways and a few more information that we can pull on our talent pool as well. So we can look at years of experience. So let's say, for example, and we have the same old conversations with nearly every hiring manager I worked when I was in recruitment. Jean, I'm just looking for 3 to 5 years experience. I don't want 6 years and I don't want 2 years. Not relevant to me. So I'm going to say, okay, his name's Joe. Okay, Joe. So we're looking for 3 to 5 years experience. We're looking at about 26% of the market. This information you have rolling off your tongue because you've done your talent pool analysis. We're looking at about 26% of the market. And then you can start having a conversation saying, listen, if we're a little bit more flexible, if we're opening up the gates to maybe 1 to 2 years experience, we're now adding a 55% of the market on top of our talent pool of 26%. So it's really, really having those intelligent conversations with your hiring managers instead of just saying, oh, I've got a hot list of about 5 to 6 candidates. Let me ring them so I can ring you back and see if they're available. That's kind of old school recruiting. We now need to figure out what the talent pool is, and before that client hangs up the phone, you sound really smart. You sound like you're actually somebody who knows the industry inside and out and has those conversations with them straight away on the phone. You can also look at years at company. And again, years of experience. So again, this conversation may happen with your hiring manager who are saying, Gee, I'm just looking for 6 to 10 years experience. I don't want anyone. And let's say they're not flexible. Let's say they're not going to give you any form of leeway when it comes to going to 10 years plus. They're too old. Apologies to the old people here. So they're too old after 10 years experience. And they're not flexible. So that's a great way to have, okay, that's no problem. We can have a conversation by really being open and honest and saying how long our lead time is going to be. I'm saying that you're giving me a role that I can only actually fish in 6% of the market today, which is fine, but I need to find out and you need to know it's going to take me longer to get these people, build a relationship with these people, and get them to interview with me as well before I can actually even send them to you. So it's really managing your client's expectations by using the data and the knowledge that you can extract from LinkedIn using your LinkedIn Recruiter account. So this is kind of a summarized slide for my section. Now again, always remember that this is just skimming the surface of the information that you can gain from LinkedIn. I've tried to break LinkedIn.com and the RPS license. It's not possible. So if I can't break it, you can't break it. So go in, run your searches, and always use different refinement filters. Find out information that's actually relevant for you and the conversations you want to have. It will differ from each company, it'll differ from each industry, and we're just showing you very quickly and on a very high level what are some information that you can pull from this. So if we imagine the slide behind me is a blue pyramid, and this is representing our talent pool. And so the base of the pyramid is always going to be the broadest, and we can step back to the very first slide in my session, and this is how we cast the Boolean search string. So this is where we cast a really wide net. We looked globally and we had 2 million people. We had over 2 million people. And as we step up the pyramid, our talent pool starts getting narrower. And that's because we're adding in more refinement filters, or maybe your client is adding in more restrictions to the role. So they're saying, okay, I need someone in the UK. I need someone with 3 to 5 years experience. I need somebody who has a degree in masters or a master's degree. So it has to be a certain level and certain refinement filter that will narrow down that talent pool. And I would always share this or share something similar with your hiring manager and having those conversations saying, this is genuinely how our talent pool is impacted by the amount of refinement filters that you're having as well. So again, I just want to kind of slightly recap on what we spoke about, that I always want to make sure that we have just skimmed the surface. If you have, again, any questions afterwards, I will be the product specialist you need to reach out to. I'm going to pass over to Richard Cookson, who's going to talk about talent pool reports that LinkedIn can produce for you as well. And thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for that, Jean. Can you hear me? Yeah, sure. Okay, so Jean, as she mentioned, she's taken you through some of the ways that you can use your LinkedIn Recruiter license to extract data that's valuable to you based on the industries that you work in, the markets that you operate in, and based on the clients that you're recruiting for. What I also want to show you now is some of our talent pool reports that are provided and produced by our insights analyst team. I want to show you where you can access those reports and how you can leverage the information contained within. So you can see right at the top there's a red Earl, I think it's on your left-hand side. So you don't necessarily need to write this down now. All these presentations will be available over the coming days anyway. But this is where you can access talent pool reports that may be relevant to the industries and markets and the roles that you work on. I'd also recommend that you go onto this link and follow this particular group, so you will be notified as and when new talent pool reports become available that are relevant to you and are relevant to the markets and the industries that you work in. So let's just now double click on one of the talent pool reports just so I can show you the sort of information that you can leverage and extract from it. So I'm going to double click on a talent pool report for all IT and digital professionals working within the finance industry in Europe. And what this provides me straight away is in-demand, supply and demand data of all IT and digital finance professionals working within the finance industry in Europe. So I can see where the volumes are of these types of professionals, and I can also see what the demand looks like. And what I mean by demand, this is how often or frequently these types of professionals are interacting with another recruiter. So what this enables me to see is where potentially those hidden gems are. So in this particular talent pool report, I can see that with Italy, Turkey, Spain and Russia, there's high volumes of these types of professionals, but there's very low demand and they're not frequently in contact with a recruiter. So this may be an opportunity for me to start engaging with these types of professionals. The insights team also break it down by numbers. So they show us what the addressable market looks like, things like the percentage of these professionals that are manager or above, and provide really interesting insights such as IT and digital professionals working within the UK are twice as likely to be contacted by a recruiter than the same type of professionals working in France. So look, you can analyse this a number of ways, but what I saw from that is, look, within the UK, whilst there's a high volume of these types of professionals, they're also in really high demand. So when I'm reaching out to these professionals, what am I doing to differentiate myself from other recruiters and other organisations? The talent pool reports also show you what skills and keywords you should look for that are really common amongst these types of professionals. And as Jean mentioned before, it's all about putting that Boolean search string together to make sure that you're outputting all of those relevant candidates that match the criteria and the requirements of the role. So you can use these talent pool reports to really understand what are the common words that I should be looking for amongst these types of professionals. And the reports don't just show us how we can more effectively target these types of professionals. We can also see some really interesting insights like, what are these professionals interested in for their next role? So when you're reaching out to these members via an email, for instance, you can position some of these things that are really important to these types of professionals. And as we all know, 80% of members on LinkedIn are passive and 20% are active. So if you're reaching out to passive members, which is a far bigger mass on LinkedIn, you really need to be hitting some of these key points to increase the chances that these professionals will engage with you. Going back to the IT and digital professionals working within the UK, this is a sort of thing that will increase the chances that these professionals will engage with you. You're differentiating yourself from a competitor. And I would also look at how you can leverage this information when writing your job specification. So instead of just having a list of requirements that's only really going to appeal to maybe those active candidates on LinkedIn, those are the same types of candidates that you'll also see on job boards as well. How can you write that job specification in a way and really appeal to that member or that candidate based on what's really important to them for their next job in order to increase the number of applications and the engagement within that role? You can also see where these individuals came from. So what universities they've graduated from and what groups they reside in. And as G mentioned before, groups are really important. As a recruiter, I'll be thinking, am I a member of these groups? And if I am a member of these groups, am I engaging in them? Am I really adding value to these audiences? Am I positioning myself as a thought leader? Because if I build my brand within these groups and I engage with them, then it's going to make it far easier for me to recruit and convert at the back end. The talent pool reports also break it down by functions and also industries as well. And again, you need to use this information when you're posting your jobs. So I often see when I go onto LinkedIn, and I'm sure you're all familiar with this, I often see jobs with one industry and one function. So use these reports to understand where these professionals reside so you can add relevant industries and function which will significantly increase the overall reach of your job and therefore the number of applications as well. So you can use these reports, but also, as Gene demonstrated, jump into your license. Type in your recruiter search the job title, filter it down by location, and then look where all of these professionals reside from an industry and a function perspective, and apply that to your job posting. So it's a quick way of building talent intelligence within seconds to optimize your jobs. And by building your talent intelligence in this way, it will enable you to have a real understanding of what that addressable market looks like, where to find these audiences and these members, how to recruit them, how to think about positioning this information with your hiring manager to set the sourcing strategy. And your hiring manager will also be really confident that there's a clear sourcing strategy in place based on data, that you are looking in the right places and engaging the right audiences to enable you to be an effective recruiter. He'll even feel confident that his expectations have been managed. He'll know what the lead time looks like based on the requirements that he has mandated for that particular role. So what I want to do now is just recap. I know we've gone through a lot of information already, so I want to take this time just to recap in terms of what we've gone through so far before we move on to the last part of the session. So we've looked at LinkedIn in numbers and really set the context and the scene behind the importance of today's session. Gene's taken us through some of the ways that you can use your LinkedIn recruiter license to extract data that's valuable to you in terms of helping you do your day-to-day role and that's valuable to your clients. We've then looked at how you can leverage some of the in-demand talent pool reports that are provided by our insights team, where to access and how to use this information. And what I want to look at now is as you start the process of building your talent pools, how you can leverage some of the talent pipeline features within LinkedIn Recruiter to manage these candidates and leads more effectively throughout the recruitment process. But before we start that, before we even start the process of building talent pools, it's important to understand that not all roles are created equal. Some roles are really easy to fill. You've got a huge list of the relevant candidates ready to go on your database. So you really need to focus on those roles that are hard to fill. They come up fairly frequently, but there's a really long lead time, and you'd really benefit from a warm and engaged pool of candidates that are more likely to be ready to go. Once you've done that, you can go into your LinkedIn Recruiter license and set up project folders based on role and industry, software engineer UK, whatever works for your organisation, as long as there's some consistency across the dashboard. You can then use all your data that you've obtained from building your talent intelligence to reach out and search for these professionals, and then save the search to the project folder and set up a search alert. And for those of you that are not familiar with search alerts, you will be notified as and when any new members that join LinkedIn meet this search criteria. You'll be notified when any existing members, where they change, add a skill, change company, and so on. You will be notified if those additions to their profile meet that previously run search criteria. A great way, as long as the Boolean string is robust and refined, it's a great way of automating the recruitment process, the sourcing process, so you can spend your time doing other things. And LinkedIn will notify you via email when new candidates that are relevant to that search come along. LinkedIn will notify you when you log into your license, and you'll also be notified when you go back into the project. You can click on new results and add any relevant or appropriate candidates into your talent pool. So as I start to build the talent pool, I've got 50, 100, 150 relevant candidates within my talent pool. I'm going to talk to you about just some of the talent pipeline features that you can leverage to really track these leads throughout the process. So firstly, statuses. So statuses enable you to track the stage that the candidate is at for that particular role or for that particular project, whether that be screened, first interview, second interview, whatever works for your organisation. All talent pipeline features are configurable to your organisation's dashboard and can be really embedded into your internal processes. You can use tags. Tags are a great way of adding additional insight and information to a member's profile that isn't already on their profile. So if I'm searching for software engineers, I might want to add PHP, Java, C++, whatever works for us as an organisation based on the markets and industries that we operate in. Custom fields. We can now in LinkedIn Recruiter set up customized fields based on information that we want to capture as an organisation. Pay rates. Are they willing to relocate? Languages, available dates. All of this information can now be captured within your tool. And all talent pipeline features are visible to you, and they're visible to your whole team across the dashboard, along with all other activity when you go into that member profile. So let's jump into Jean's profile right now. I can see straight away that she is assigned to a project and she has a status screened. So she may be assigned to 4 projects and have 4 different statuses. She has tags, willing to relocate, and 100,000, so indicating that she'll only be interested in jobs that are 100,000 or above. We have custom fields, again, so it's all based on the information that is relevant and that you want to capture as a business and across your dashboard. And all talent pipeline features are visible along with all of the activity and all interactions with that member across your dashboard to really enhance collaboration and reduce duplication as well. And talent pipeline features within LinkedIn are useful. They're useful because when you're in your project folder, you can filter and refine by relevant tags, candidates at a particular stage of the process, so you can find these candidates really easy. They're useful because all of the information and all of the tags that have been added are visible on the member profile to you and everybody within your team. And they're also visible because they enable you to further refine your search at the back end as well. So if I go into my recruiter license and I click on advanced search, I might want to refine a search that I've run by a candidate that is at a particular stage in the process. So refine it by status, screened maybe. Maybe I've spoken to a hiring manager and they say, look, I need you to fill this role ASAP. So I run my search and then I filter via screened because that indicates to me that these candidates might be ready to go. I can also filter via activity, notes, tags, statuses, anything like that, or even exclude activity, or any activity or interactions with those members. So maybe I just want to search for all new candidates that myself or my team has had no interaction with whatsoever to date. And again, you can refine the search by custom filters that you've set up based on what your organisation would like to capture. So as I said before, I know we've gone through a lot of information today, so I just want to highlight some of the key takeaways from today and from this session before we close. So LinkedIn Recruiter is a sourcing tool. We all know that. But it's also a tool for talent pool analytics. It's a way that you can extract data that's valuable to you in terms and will enable you to be more effective in your day-to-day jobs. You can leverage LinkedIn Recruiter and talent pool reports to really understand and identify your addressable market. So you can start to understand how to target and how to find the audiences that you're looking to engage. You can share this information And Jean showed you some of the ways that you can share this information with your hiring manager to help them understand the strategy and really set the sourcing strategy with them based on data, based on facts. And use this information as well to more effectively source. So we talked about how you can leverage some of the keywords and apply it to your Boolean search, how you can use additional industries and additional functions in order to optimize your jobs. What are the candidates interested in? What is the member profile I'm looking to recruit interested in? Apply that within your emails when reaching out to these audiences, in particularly passive candidates. Also apply and think about that when you're writing your job descriptions. And finally, as you start to build your talent pool of 50, 100, 150 relevant professionals, think about how you can leverage talent pipeline features, or maybe features within your applicant tracking system or CRM tool, whatever works for your organization to more effectively manage these leads throughout the entire process.